on. All right. Hi. That was. Say hi, 6'2". Hey. Today we're going to be talking about how the problem of increased travel due to expanded trade and social divisions led to the need to be able to carry heavier items across greater distances. Hence, the really important invention of the wheel. Dun, 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 dun. So let's look at our problem. All right, I already talked about that. We're moving on. So if I want to travel a great distance by land, it can be pretty cumbersome. Now, the main form of transportation that ancient Mesopotamians had, as we're writing notes right now, the main form of transportation that they had was the rivers, right? Going by sailboat, going up or down the river with or against the current is a great way for us to be able to get from point A to point B. But the problem is sometimes, if we get to point B, we sometimes might need to go to point C, D, E, and F, right? Maybe even G. What's up, G? So we might want to get to all those other points, and those points might be on land. So I can't go by the river to a place that's 10 miles away from the river and land. I just can't do it. And there's a huge demand for doing this more because remember in Mesopotamia, we talked about how there's different city-states. Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, Nineveh, all these different cities that act like countries. And if, let's say I'm an artisan is a fancy word for a craftsperson. Somebody who works for a craft in order to make a living. We talked about it with social divisions. Not everybody's a farmer now. So let's say I'm Dan, and Dan's a blacksmith, and he's making his metal goods. Yeah, he can probably trade for a good amount of food by trading here within our city-state of Sabrina. But he probably can make even more if he takes his metal goods and brings them to markets in Michelandia, right? And there's a whole bunch of people that might want to buy his cool metal spears and axes and plows and all those things. If he could just get to Michelandia and sell them. But the problem is, if Dan tries to carry it, he gets squished. It's just too heavy for him to carry. Even if he goes and puts it on the back of a camel or a horse or a mule or an ox, they're still pretty limited with what they can carry. So he wants to carry things that are long distance, that's easier across land. So using the river, using beasts of burden, using animals, you could do that, but it's slow and it's limited at how much you can carry. And again, Dan wants to trade. And there's other artisans too. You have like Harry, my friend Harry here. You know what he is? I'm sorry, this is Harry. Harry's a potter. See? He's Harry Potter. That joke was magic. Yeah, go ahead. No point to adult pencil. So, my Harry Potter here is making pottery, and this guy's like, ooh, I want to buy those pots. Those look cool, man. So he's making pottery, and he'd like to be able to sell his pots out to many people. But again, the pots are fragile. If he tries to carry too much, he falls, they break. Yes, like we have merchants in the market, but again, they would like to be able to go longer and further distances so they can sell their goods. Here we see guys doing cuneiform tablets. Here we see a guy saying, hey, man, your ox is stepping on my foot. Look at that. Either which way, my friends working with the cuneiform, people working with metal, people working with weaving and making textiles, or my friend the Harry Potter here, all of them want to be able to sell their goods across a bigger, longer surface. Now, there's something I want you to notice with this picture, besides the fact that my man here needs to wash his hands. If you notice, he's doing this on something round, and it looks like that round thing is on another device. You notice that?
Yeah, technology.
And this top here, this little top table here, probably can spin. Because when you're making pottery, you kind of take the clay and you mold it, and it spins around, and you take the clay and you mold it into a shape, you hollow it out. It's very zen. You're like, ooh, the clay is smooth. I'm connecting with the universe. And as it's spinning around, it goes. So what is that pot on top of? What is it on top of, Dan? Wheelie? He said a wheel. He's Willie White. It's a wheel. Yeah. So the solution to the problem of, you know what, I want to make a pot. It would be a lot easier if the clay was spinning around as I did it. The solution to one problem sometimes can be the solution to other problems.
Hold on, man.
Dun, dun, dun. And that leads us to the invention of the wheel. Yeah. You take that same rounded surface that we had as the potter's tool, and instead of it doing this way, I turn it and bring it vertical. Instead of horizontal wheel, I have a vertical wheel. And I can now take that and I can attach that wheel, which is connected by an axle. You can say the axle rose to the occasion to get the wheel moving. See, Axl Rose, that's singer, Guns N' Roses. Anyway, so the axle, right, is the metal rod or a wooden rod, and the wheel spins around it. And that's how it gets the motion, right? And the more momentum you put behind it, the more it spins around that axle. When you kids were, anybody here have a wagon when they were little kids? Right? You turn it upside down. You can see the metal rod between them. That's an axle, right? Oh man, I used to have a lot of fun in my wagon with my kids. That we have a hill in my backyard, and it was always great. Run them down the hill, it was like a roller coaster. Running them up the hill, pretty tough. It's tougher to bring a wheel uphill. Uphill. Anyway, uphill. It's not as appealing. So, our chariot. I'm looking at the next phrase. Our wheels initially are attached to things like carts. Pretty similar. If any of you at your house have a wheelbarrow, right? So you like if I do a lot of fire pits in my backyard, so I go and buy wood in bulk, like a lot at a time. If I try to carry those 50 pieces of wood that I bought like this, I'm gonna get tipped over. I'm gonna drop them all. I can't do it. But if I put them all in the wheelbarrow, even though it's one wheel, I can lift it and carry it all at once. It displaces that weight and makes it mobile and a lot easier to move. And we see that this is like the first types of ones. But eventually people get smarter and smarter and smarter and solve more and more problems with that innovation. Jules? You write notes? Anyway, daily reminder. So, eventually they say, wow, I could take this and I could have like a carriage where mules, I can sit and they can bring me along. Or I could stand on a platform with two wheels and a horse or a mule can pull me. And that way I can control it. And I could be standing going the same speed as a horse, like 35, 40 miles an hour. That's pretty cool. I could be steering. I could have people on the side of me like doing bows and arrows. Be like a weapon. Oh yeah. We're going to see people use wheels for all sorts of stuff. Yes. Oh, the Iditarod, the dog sleds? Yeah, that's an Inuit innovation up in Alaska. No wheels involved in that one. There really aren't. Anyway, so because of the wheel now, travel increases more. And when you have more travel and people trading with one another, this leads to more cultural exchange, cultural interaction. If I go to Jules and I start trading my pots with him, I might also see what he's using for metalwork. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cool. I want to try to get some of that. I might bring his innovation back to my city-state. If I'm trading with Alex, and we're probably going to have a conversation. He might talk to me about his religious beliefs, and that might influence me. If I'm talking with Camilla, she might tell me about how people in her city-state figured out stuff with the stars. Or when I'm trading with Sabrina, I might say, oh my goodness, look at this number system that you're using. This is really cool. I'm going to bring that back to my home. So we see because of the wheel, people travel more, people trade more. And with more travel and trade, that means more interaction. And the more interaction, the more culture becomes complex. Cultural exchange, cultural complexity comes from interactions. The fact that, like, I know a lot of you are into anime, and probably some of you watch FIFA for fun. Again, these are things that are from other cultures that influence and shape ours. That's cultural interaction. Make sense? So the more your culture interacts with other cultures, the more your culture becomes complex. The more your culture becomes influenced. And the wheel makes cultural interaction and exchange go wheelie faster. All right. Oh, it's just, it never ends. So yes, that's the notes. Oh, I want to see the picture. Oh, I guess I didn't set it that way. Here we see this guy, and he's doing an early cart. Here's the wheel. All sorts of different materials were used for different early wheels, from stone to clay to wood. It's not until like the late 19th century when we figure out the rubber plant, if you melt it down, can make rubber, and those make really good tires. But before we retire, let's watch this quick video.
But this is maybe the best thing we invented. The wheel. No. You think somebody back in the old days would have thought of it sooner. But we were the first. Before carts and wheels, we used to just drag things around. That was hard. But like I said, we are very modern here in Sumer.
So could that boy been able to take all that hay without that mule pulling that? No. He'd been like, hey, hey, help, hey. See, he's got hay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Harris. So, what innovation, why did the innovation of the wheel enable Mesopotamians to have greater cultural exchange? Just talked about this quite a bit in the last couple minutes. With the wheel, we could travel greater distances. We could trade with more people. The more we trade with more people, the more we interact. The more we pick up parts of their culture, the more they pick up parts of us, the more complex our culture becomes.
Dude! That's so fast!
But you know it. It's in your brain. You don't have to write word for word what I said.
No.
All right. So, friends, I'm going to punch out from the exit card, and I'm going to go over to the GC. Oh, hi. I'm ending the video.